President, Minister, ladies and gentlemen, who could have thought a few weeks ago that the United States would support the United Nations with China and North Korea in a resolution in the United Nations against Ukraine? Who could have thought that it would have attempted to take over Greenland? And what we're seeing on the other side of the Atlantic is not disengagement, it's a complete change in the way things are done. The facts are what they are, though. So, since 20 years, Russia and China have been increasing their defence spending, and the White House is no longer our ally. The world is changing, and we need to learn the lessons of that. The first thing is that we need to be able to stand up for ourselves. So, Madam President, yes, let's produce in Europe, let's buy in Europe. I say to you 100 times yes to this money and to the new ways of financing that. It's important that our money helps our economies. We can't have strategic autonomy and sovereignty without focusing our spending in Europe. But we also need to work quickly on this, on the Eurobonds put forward by the Parliament and some of the EU's governments. And we also need to think about how we're going to mobilise our efforts in Europe. The strategic issues are very extensive, and we need proper coordination. Our armies, the million soldiers in Europe, need to be able to work together, and it's also important that we improve the European benefit from the nuclear shield without calling into question sovereignty on that issue. It's these conditions which will allow us to preserve peace. It's also important that we continue to support Ukraine, because their security is our security. The decision taken by Donald Trump to stop military deliveries and intelligence sharing means that we have to take our destiny in hand again. Obviously, we've made mistakes in the past, but we need to support Ukraine now and provide security guarantees for Ukraine and for ourselves. And that will involve sending troops to support peace once we have an agreement. We have to deter the Russian threat once and for all. The lessons to be learned here is that our democratic model is under threat through Russian interference in the East and by Donald Trump in the West, and also by reactionary forces that we have here. And Mr. Procaccini, when you're talking about greater sovereignty, or greater support rather, for Ukraine, I don't agree with what you've said. You have to remember this is Kremlin propaganda and Donald Trump's propaganda. We are supporting Ukraine. We have stood side by side with them since the beginning, and we will continue to do so until we get peace. And peace does not mean capitulating. Madam President, the shield needs to be there, and we're waiting to see the proposal that you have. But let's already start by using the laws which we have. What about the DSA? The fundamental principles of law is that if you break those, then there should be penalties, and it's your responsibility to ensure that the laws are respected. Our aim now, ladies and gentlemen, is peace, international order, and promoting democracy. We have the assets to be a military and democratic power, and we need to step up to that role.